Welcome to Slash Stories, the place where we read some of the wildest relationship and family drama from the internet. Today's first story is about a car, a broken promise, and a situation that escalated way faster than anyone expected. Am I the bad guy for reporting my boyfriend's brother after he took my car without permission? I'm a 27-year-old woman, and I moved across the country about 8 months ago to live with my boyfriend. We had been dating long distance for almost 3 years, and when I finally finished my degree, we decided it was time to close the distance. Because the move was so far, I sold most of my things, including my old car, before relocating. Once I arrived, I bought a used car so I could commute to work. My boyfriend helped me with part of the down payment because my savings took a hit during the move. I paid him back over the next few months, and now the car is completely mine. My name is the only one on the title. Everything was fine until last weekend. My boyfriend's older brother came to stay with us for a few days. I had met him once before during a family visit, but we weren't close. He seemed friendly enough, though, so I didn't think much of it. One afternoon, my boyfriend and I went out to run errands. While we were out, his brother texted asking if he could borrow a car to grab dinner with some friends. My boyfriend told him no because we were both out and the cars weren't available. That should have been the end of it. But when we got back home later that evening, my car was gone. At first, I thought maybe I had forgotten where I parked. But then my boyfriend's brother walked in the door like nothing happened. When I asked where my car was, he casually said he had taken it to meet his friends. I asked him why he would do that when we had already said no. He shrugged and said he thought we were overreacting about a simple favor. I was already irritated, but then things got worse. My boyfriend's dad, who owns the house we're staying in temporarily, jumped in and said that since my boyfriend once helped with the down payment, the car was basically a shared vehicle. That was the moment my patience completely disappeared. I explained very clearly that the car legally belongs to me. My name is the only one on the title, the insurance is under my name, and I'm the one responsible if anything happens to it. My boyfriend even backed me up. But his brother kept insisting that it wasn't a big deal, and that he had already driven it halfway across town. At that point, I was getting seriously nervous. It's not just about the principle of the thing. If someone else gets into an accident with your car, it can still fall back on you legally and financially. Insurance companies don't care about family drama, so I asked him to bring it back immediately. He said he would. An hour passed. Then another. Eventually, my boyfriend tried calling him, but he didn't answer. That's when my anxiety really kicked in. My car is how I get to work. I had just moved to a new city where I don't have many friends yet. If something happened to it, I'd be completely stuck. After about 2 hours with no response, I decided to call the police and report the car as taken without permission. I didn't do it to get anyone arrested. I did it because I was worried about what could happen if the car was damaged, abandoned, or used in something illegal. About 30 minutes after I filed the report, my boyfriend's brother finally pulled into the driveway. Apparently, one of his friends had posted pictures online of them driving around, and someone in the family saw it and told him the police might already be looking for the car. He stormed into the house furious. Instead of apologizing, he started yelling at me for overreacting and trying to ruin his night. My boyfriend's dad was also angry. He said calling the police on family was crossing a line. But from my perspective, someone literally took my car after I told them no. My boyfriend understands why I was upset, but he said maybe calling the police escalated things too quickly. Honestly, I don't know. If someone takes your car without permission, what exactly are you supposed to call it? All right, before we continue with the next story, let's talk about this one for a second. Because I know some people are probably thinking the same thing my boyfriend said. Maybe calling the police was a little extreme. But at the same time, what else was she supposed to do? If someone takes your property after you clearly told them not to, that's not borrowing anymore. That's just taking it. And once the car is gone, you have absolutely no control over what happens to it. Imagine if the brother had gotten into an accident. Imagine if he hit someone. Imagine if he just parked it somewhere random and left it. All of those problems would fall on the owner of the vehicle, which is OP, not the brother, not the dad. So honestly, I don't think she was wrong for protecting herself. You can't ignore someone's boundaries and then act shocked when there are consequences. Now let's move on to the next story. Am I the bad guy for missing the birth of my child because I was in the hospital? I'm a 25-year-old woman, and my wife and I recently had our first baby together. Our son is about 10 months old now, but something happened during his birth that we're still arguing about. The problem is that I wasn't there when he was born. Before anyone jumps to conclusions, it wasn't because I didn't want to be there. I have a serious heart condition that I've had since childhood. Over the years, I've had multiple surgeries to manage it, and while things had been stable for a long time, complications started happening again during my wife's pregnancy. About 2 days before the due date, I suddenly started experiencing severe chest pain and shortness of breath. I was rushed to the hospital. Doctors discovered fluid building up around my heart, which can become life-threatening very quickly if it isn't treated. So instead of preparing for the birth of my child, I was suddenly being prepped for an emergency procedure. The doctors drained the fluid around my heart and kept me overnight for observation. During that time, I wasn't allowed to leave the hospital, and honestly, I was barely conscious for most of it. The next morning, my sister came into the room with a huge smile on her face. That's when she told me the baby had been born. My wife went into labor earlier than expected. So while she was in one hospital delivering our son, I was in a completely different hospital recovering from a heart procedure. When I finally got discharged later that day, the first thing I did was go straight to the maternity ward to meet them. Holding my son for the first time was one of the happiest moments of my life. At the time, everything felt perfect. But over the past several months, I've started noticing something different in my wife's attitude. She sometimes makes small comments about how difficult the birth was without me there. At first, I thought it was just stress. But last week, things finally exploded during an argument. We had planned a rare date night after the baby went to stay with her mom. I ordered her favorite food, picked out some movies she likes, and tried to make the evening relaxing. But she seemed distant the entire time. Eventually, I asked what was wrong. That's when she admitted that she still resents me for missing the birth. She said that in the most important moment of her life, I wasn't there to support her. I tried to explain again that I was literally in the hospital fighting a medical emergency, but she said that didn't change how alone she felt. At that point, I got frustrated and said she was being unfair and selfish for holding it against me. She got up, told me I was dismissing her feelings, and went to bed. Now things have been extremely tense between us, so I need to know. Am I the bad guy? All right, let's break this situation down. Because this is one of those stories where emotions are running extremely high on both sides. Giving birth is an intense experience. It's painful, stressful, and for many people, it's one of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. So it makes sense that the wife wanted her partner there. At the same time, OP wasn't out partying with friends. She wasn't at work. She wasn't stuck in traffic. She was literally in a hospital dealing with a life-threatening heart condition. There's a pretty big difference between choosing not to show up and physically being unable to. And honestly, if the doctors hadn't treated her in time, she might not even be alive right now. So while the wife's feelings are understandable, blaming OP for something completely outside her control doesn't really seem fair. Hopefully, this is something they can work through with time, communication, and maybe even counseling. Because raising a child together while holding on to resentment like that is going to be incredibly difficult. Now let's move on to our final story of the day. Am I the bad guy for telling my friend that she crossed a line at a party? I'm a 23-year-old woman, and my best friend recently moved in with his girlfriend. They hosted a housewarming party last weekend and invited a bunch of us over. Everything started out normal. People were talking, eating, and having a few drinks. But as the night went on, things got a little uncomfortable. My friend's girlfriend is extremely outgoing. She loves being the center of attention, dancing, laughing loudly, and pulling people into conversations. Normally that wouldn't bother me, but throughout the night she kept dragging my friend away from our group every few minutes so he could dance with her and her friends. He's a pretty introverted guy, so it was obvious he wasn't enjoying it. Later I asked him privately if he was okay. He said he was just tired, but I could tell something was off. Eventually, his girlfriend came over and started talking excitedly about how amazing the party was. Trying to lighten the mood, I joked that my friend looked completely exhausted. That's when things got awkward. She laughed and said he was only quiet because he couldn't stop thinking about taking her to bed later. I immediately felt uncomfortable hearing that in front of everyone. Without really thinking, I told my friend that if she was going to talk like that around us, I'd rather just leave. She laughed it off, but I ended up leaving anyway. The next day, my friend texted me saying his girlfriend wants an apology before I'm allowed back at their house. I told him I'd apologize if she also apologized for making things uncomfortable. Apparently, that's not going to happen. Now, our mutual friends are saying I should just say sorry to keep the peace. But part of me feels like I didn't actually do anything wrong. So tell me, am I the bad guy? And that's it for today's stories here on Slash Stories. If you enjoy listening to wild internet drama like this, make sure you stick around because we bring new Reddit stories all the time.